Drones and Robots by Group 6.
So now let's talk about the definition and significance of drones and robots. Robotics is a branch of engineering that involves the conception, design, and operation of robots, and drones are probably the most advanced equipment in the field of robotics, aeronautics, and electronics. So then the significance of this would be that this is a very high discipline of designing, building, and using machines in an automated way to complete tasks. This suggests, with the increase in artificial intelligence in both drones and robots, that the trajectory is leading to self-sufficiency in tasks and problem solving. Drones, however, get special attention over typical robots due to their intensive work such as mapping territories, inspection, crop dusting, even to a lesser extent when you have deliveries. You can go out on the street and see delivery robots. Those are typically drones. And now that we've spoken about the definition and significance, we can talk about the overview and even a slight bit of history involved with robotics and drones. So the concept of creating machines that can work autonomously has dated back to classical times. In fact, Isaac Asimov was the first to use the word and had 3 laws of robotics. Robots may never harm human beings, robots must follow instructions from humans without violating rule number 1, and robots must protect themselves without violating the other rules. This in itself is a safeguard to prevent robots from doing something that might hurt a human or violate the rules in which they were created. This is also, in a sense, a safeguard to prevent people from creating robots to violate those rules. And it's pretty easy to see the relevance between engineering design, our class, and drones and robots, because drones and robots are creating new ways to design a solution and help put the solution into practice. This is being done through the increase in artificial intelligence in robots and drones. This leads us towards a new road of self-sufficiency that eventually it will all come to a head with us as the overseers and the robots and drones doing the majority of the tasks for us. This can be seen as dangerous human tasks, such as handling of radioactive material, maybe something that is too heavy for a human, such as like a bar, are much more safe with the inclusion of drones and robotics, as they can now handle the dangerous aspects, and the people are protected and they won't have to deal with any risk. This minimizes all possible risk involved with radioactive material, dangerous aspects of creating a solution. For example, if something was to explode, the robot would be able to handle it, the human would not be involved in that, and they would be safe from any harm.
Drones have many applications, including military and defense, disaster response, and environment monitoring. In the military, drones are used to monitor cities as well as during wartime to assess a situation. For disaster response, drones are used to locate survivors and to assess the damage done. And drones are also used to track the climate and wildlife of a given environment. The impact that this has on society is that it reduces risk to humans in military and disaster situations. It provides fast and efficient monitoring of agriculture and the environment. However, there are ethical concerns regarding drones monitoring people. It is a concern of privacy, but for the most part, this has a positive impact on society. Robots have many applications, including automation, construction, delivery, and surgical. Automation in factories means robots can replace humans and become faster and more efficient, as well as in construction. And as pictured in the PowerPoint, there are delivery robots that carry the items that someone has ordered and can increase efficiency of the delivery. And there are also robots used to perform surgery, to be more precise. And the impact that these have on society is that it increases safety from dangerous jobs to prevent humans from dying or getting injured. It also increases the efficiency of delivery services and improves precision of surgery. With this comes a higher unemployment rate and a potential over-automation issue where humans rely too heavily on robots to do tasks.
Hello, my name is Bryan Gatto, and I'm here to talk about some issues encountered when using drones and robots. So, perhaps a very common one in engineering is the issue of cost versus utility. Drones and robots come in different levels of sophistication and associated costs. You can have small, simple, cheap robots, and you can have more expensive ones that can perform better or do more complicated things. When deciding to use a robotic system, the user should consider the project requirements, right? So what is it you're working on? What does your project need to do? The robotic system functions, right? So compare those requirements to what the system you're thinking about purchasing does. Do the functions of the robot actually meet the requirements? Does it have extra functions? Is it missing something, right? And then finally, financial efficiency. The cost of a robotic system can be large. You have to consider whether that cost is worth justifying when trying to complete your project. And then next, there's also the issue of regulations, particularly in the case of drones. So increased use of drones in recent decades has created privacy, security, and safety concerns. As is the case with any new technology gets developed, and then laws come into place to regulate it as problems start to become apparent. Governments have created regulations to address these concerns. When deciding to use a drone or robot, a user should be aware of the relevant laws, that can be those in your area, and keep in mind that laws change and new ones are being developed all the time. As I mentioned earlier, newer laws, there are new laws for drones. For example, a very common restriction for drones is that they are not actually allowed near airports. So keep that in mind if you're using one. And there's usually a legal height limit that you don't want to exceed. So these are two very common laws that most countries have adopted, but again, every country can adopt slightly different laws, and maybe even in your area you might have different ones. So that is something very important to consider.
My name is Nathan, and I'll be covering the ethical concerns in engineering design and consideration of drones and robots. Drone warfare raises a lot of moral questions. From an engineering design perspective, usually one focuses on precision, reliability, sensor quality, and decision algorithms. But behind every successful strike is a question. Is this just? Are non-combatants being protected? Are civilian casualties minimized? Who is accountable when these things go wrong? The argument for drones is that they allow militaries to reduce risk to their own soldiers and to execute more discriminating strikes. Others counter that remote killing is less personal and reduces the moral hesitation to use force. Mistakes such as incorrect target identification or sensor failures can lead to unintentional civilian deaths, diplomatic crises, loss of trust, and legal liabilities. The stakes are higher than just equipment loss. In regards to national security, drones can shift power balances. They are relatively cheap and compared to manned aircraft can operate with less risk to personnel. They may also be deployed by a state or non-state actors. Designing drones requires strict safety measures, including fail-safe mechanisms, reliable target identification, human oversight at critical decision points, sensor fusion to reduce errors, and cybersecurity. Designing drones must include tamper prevention, clear rules about who controls them, and mechanisms for preventing misuse. Drones with cameras, sensors, audio pickups have huge surveillance potential. They might monitor people, track movements, record private spaces, and sometimes with or without consent. Design engineers must consider how to limit what data is collected and how long it's stored, who has access, and under which rules. Privacy is a human right recognized in the states. Other rights, due process, freedom of assembly, from unreasonable search, can be compromised if drones are used broadly for surveillance or policing. Designs that enable persistent tracking, facial recognition, or linking data across systems can lead to misuse or abuse. Robots are transforming the workplace, but this transformation raises serious ethical concerns. Automation disproportionately threatens unskilled and low-skilled labor, people who often have the fewest opportunities for retraining or upward mobility. When a robot like Tesla's Optimus is designed to perform human-like tasks in factories or logistics centers, it can reduce demand for workers who traditionally relied on these jobs for economic stability. From an ethical standpoint, this risks widening inequality. Higher-skilled engineers, programmers, and supervisors may benefit while displacing workers that are left behind without adequate support. This raises design and policy questions. Should robots be designed primarily to replace human labor or to enhance their efficiency? The use of autonomous robots means decisions are made with less human supervision. That requires thinking carefully about the design of algorithms, the inputs, biases, how to validate and verify behavior in the field, and if a robot causes harm, who is responsible: the manufacturer, the programmer, or the operator, or the provider of the training data. Ethical engineering design isn't just about determining what robots and drones can do, but about anticipating the broader social consequences of their deployment.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lima, and I will be talking about some of the challenges that robots are facing currently today and in the future. Even though technology is moving really fast, robots are struggling to keep up with all the changes happening in the real world. There are a few major issues holding them back. The first is high material cost. Building robots with the best material can be very expensive, and if developers try to cut costs with lower quality materials, the robot's performance suffers. A cheaper robot might not be able to do everything it's supposed to do, causing incomplete data and further setbacks. Next, there are serious technical limitations to robots. Robots are still at a pretty early stage, especially when it comes to acting independently. Many struggle with things like sensor communication or understanding and reacting to unpredictable environments. That means they still can't handle everything we might expect from a truly autonomous robot. Finally, there are growing cybersecurity concerns. As robots start using technologies like cloud computing or gaining faster access to the internet, they become more vulnerable to becoming hacked or getting hit with malware. This isn't just a technology issue. It's also a major risk for safety, public trust, and following regulations. If people don't trust the security around robots, it's a big setback for further progress. Some of the challenges for drones now have a similar aspect, but don't have the same limitations. Drones are developing fast alongside new technologies, but this also means they're running into more regulation and legal standards. As drones get more advanced, governments and organizations need to create new rules to make sure drones are used safely and responsibly. Keeping up with these changes causes more standards and can slow down the development for better drones. Drones have their own technical limitations as well. Even though the tech is getting better every year, we're not quite at the point where drones can have a huge impact on society. They're still held back by issues like battery life, limited range, and trouble with complicated tasks. Finally, safety and security is an ongoing concern. Drones are at a risk of being hacked, and there's always a fear of drones being used for harmful purposes, as we've seen in the war of Ukraine and Russia. This makes people more hesitant to support the widespread use of drones and put a lot of pressure on the developers to prove their product is safe and secure. One of the questions that has came up with these drones and robots is, what do you think is the greatest challenges for robots and drones facing today in today's world? Technical limitations, ethical concerns, or even public acceptance, and why? Thank you for listening.